Welcome to Englewood High School and to the 106th commencement exercise at this fine established school. Today we gather to celebrate the class of 2020. My name's Ryan West, and I'm proud to be completing my fourth year as principal at Englewood High School, and doing so with the very same class that started here with me as freshmen back in the fall of 2016. What an amazing group of seniors. What a story. One that nobody could have written, not even just 3 months ago. I could not have asked for a better senior class to work with this year, and as we will hear today, and as most of you already know, the class of 2020 is truly a special group of young men and young women. Before we get started, I want to thank a few people that made this year possible. We have some honors guests up here on stage that we'll introduce later in the program, but I want to make sure to recognize the principals of the other 6 schools in Englewood schools. Their role is just as important as our role here at Englewood High School. You see, they did all the foundational work before we just got to put on the finishing touches. So I want to recognize Anessa Hart, principal at EMS and ELA, Ryan Cowell and Matt Palermo, who both served as principal at Charles Hay this year, Shauna Martin, principal at Bishop Elementary, Lisa Phillips, principal at Cherylin Elementary, Jenny Buster, principal at Clayton Elementary, and Lee Pitlinski, principal and director of our ECE Center at Maddox. I'd also like to thank our central leadership team for all of their support and everything that we do programming-wise here on a daily basis. And last but definitely not least, the folks who are here in the classrooms and the hallways with their students every single day, the outstanding faculty and staff here at Englewood High School. Well, class of 2020, where do we start? I think back to the fall of 2016 and that first time we got together in the field house on the Link Crew Day. I was the brand new principal of Englewood High School and you were the incoming freshman class. I specifically remember on that day challenging you guys to make the most out of your 4 years at EHS. I challenged you to create a legacy, create memories, create traditions that will be followed for years to come, to truly reach for the stars. And to say that you were successful in doing those things would be a gross understatement. You see, the class of 2020 started many new traditions at Englewood High School. They revitalized the community carnival that used to take place all the time at Bellevue Park and hasn't been around for several years. But now that tradition will be one that we continue to do every year to kick off our homecoming week. I'm proud to say, and I thank the members of the class of 2020 for successfully completing our community garden in the courtyard of our school. The same students started to dream about that 4 years ago as freshmen, and the easy thing to do would have been to give up. In fact, when I think back to that Friday the 13th in the month of March this year, that nobody knew we would never see each other in these halls again, and the easy thing for those seniors would be to check out, coast to the finish line, simply accept the grade that they had received. But most of you didn't do that. The Campus Beautification Club that was in charge of the community garden came multiple times each week, as would Mr. Trujillo. They fundraised the money to create the garden, over $2,500 worth, and proudly completed the project on May 1st. Again, another mark that the class of 2020 made on this school that will be here for years to come. But when I think back to that fall of 2016, one of my fondest memories of all of you as a freshman was about a month into the school year. We all got together, myself and all your seminar classes in the field house, and I gave each of you one of these little carabiners. And these carabiners represented a link in a chain. And we talked that day about how in a chain you're only as strong as that weakest link. And the connection that makes to people, and as a class, we're only as strong as the weakest link in the class. And how to keep that chain strong, we rally around each other to lift up that piece that might be suffering through some pain or might be a little weak. So then I remember standing on the circle of the floor. You guys have always been there for each other. I remember taking all these links, clicking them together like this, and making a strong chain. We stood in a circle on the floor that day, and we all took our links, clicked them together, and we each had a hand in the middle. We all reached in and we grabbed hold of those links in the middle. And it got a little snug. It got a little snug in order for everybody to get in there, but we were able to do it. And symbolically, I still remember on that day how close you guys were as a class then and how close you remain today. I know that many of you still have these links, but just in case, you'll find a couple more of them in your graduation kit that you're going to receive. It takes a special group to persevere through the challenges that the class of 2020 has had to face. Like I said, nobody knew that Friday the 13th of March would be the last day that we were all together in the building at the same time. The class of 2020 has gone on to be one of the most, if not the most celebrated class, at least in this century. In the past week, I've seen commencement speeches for the class of 2020 from Oprah Winfrey, Tom Hanks, LeBron James, and even President Obama, just to name a few. Not many other high school classes get that. You had a virtual prom hosted by MTV, and another one hosted by John Krasinski and the cast of the TV show The Office. And while none of these things will ever take the place of the real thing, they created their own memories in their own special way. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, as you sit at your class reunions, you're going to look back on these last 2 months and smile, maybe even laugh. You're going to talk about what a strange end of the school year it was and how you were celebrated with a parade. But also 5, 10, 20 years down the road, you're going to be celebrating your successes. You're going to be celebrating all of your achievements in life. You're going to look back on high school and not just remember the last 2 months that weren't as traditional as everybody else's end of the senior year, but you're going to celebrate how well prepared you were to hit the ground running in the real world. You're going to celebrate your friendships, celebrate the accomplishments of your teams, your bands, the cast of your play or musical. You're going to celebrate how well you did in your student competitions, FCCLA or FBLA or HOSA, or any of our other great student groups. You're going to think about the good times you had sitting around the table at lunch. Think about the relationships that you made passing each other in the halls. Think about your friends that came and went. You'll think about those strong relationships that you have then that were fostered here today. To the class of 2020, I present this challenge to you going forward. After all, you were successful in your last challenge of leaving a legacy at Englewood High School. Now I challenge you to go out to the world and make a difference. You know, the other night when President Obama was giving his commencement address virtually nationwide to the class of 2020, he talked about how special your class is. At no other time has an entire country of students, especially seniors like yourselves, been asked to finish their senior year online. But that way of learning, that way of doing business, that way of completing transactions, that way of shopping, that way of visiting the doctor, that way of doing so many things has truly changed the entire world. And your class, the class of 2020, is the very first high school class to graduate into that new reality. You see, your job going forward as the future leaders of this world is to take care of all the old people like myself. And it's a challenge that I know you won't take lightly. In fact, I know it's a challenge that many of you will be successful in and have an integral part of. You will be the trailblazers that define what our society looks like going forward. You know, one of the most popular books during graduation season every year is The Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. And my favorite line from that book simply says, it's one that says, "Kid, you'll move mountains. Today is your day." And I think that speaks volumes to each and every one of you that's a member of this class. What a special group. And in the last 4 years, you've set the bar high in terms of school spirit. Like I said, you brought back some old traditions that will continue into the future. You created legacies that will also be around for years to come. The class of 2020 can hold their head high knowing they leave Englewood High School a better place than they found it. And I truly believe in these last 4 years, we've completely changed the culture of the school. We've completely changed the attitude around academic learning. We've completely changed the attitude around the importance of going to class. We've completely changed the attitude of we're not going to settle for what other people think about us, and we're going to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And this class was consistent in all four of those years in making those changes and creating those new traditions. This was all you, the class of 2020. You were there along the way. You were the leaders along the way. Most of the way, I dare say that many of you as sophomores, juniors, even as freshmen, took leadership roles in this school when other people wouldn't. So class of 2020, please know this. And I don't know that there's ever been a senior class that I've ever been more proud of. And I mean that. I've had the chance to work with dozens of senior classes at several schools over the years, but I don't know that I've ever been around a senior class that's made a bigger impact on a school than this one. You've completely changed the way that people think about our school, the way that students view our school, and the way that the community views our school. And that's a direct reflection of all of you and all of your efforts. I love you guys. I couldn't be more proud of you. and I wish you all the best. I know you'll move mountains. Thank you, and good luck.
Hi, I'm Joey Grounbeck. It took us 4 years to get to this day. We got here with a lot of people who made it a whole lot easier. Our teachers helped us understand some things from their point of view, which makes a whole lot more sense. If we need to know what's going on at the moment, there will be an announcement to keep us updated. If any of us need our schedules to be changed, the counselors will offer other classes we might like as an elective. If some of us feel like giving up, we will talk with a staff member of the counseling department to help us figure out the situation that we are not processing through on our own. The departments within this school have opportunities such as internships, community service, and other job-related programs to learn skills to build a career. The Future Center teacher helps us find scholarships to help pay for college if we decide to go that route, so we don't end up in so much debt. The administration staff helps us if something needs to be taken care of when something goes wrong. This school offered us sports and after-school activities, including clubs and plays. If one of us had a bad day during school, these put us in a competitive spirit that anything is possible if we were winning or enjoying ourselves. Now let's talk about how we can use these resources in the future. If any of us go to college and need help, go ask a person that works with the college you are going to, because those are now your new resources. If any of us decides to go head to work, ask the manager you work with on what you could do, succeed in life. Ask anyone that could help you, because we made it this far with the help we've gotten from friends, family, teachers, administration, and the counselors of this great community. Let's make our future great with the help and resources we all could use. Instead of letting go your EHS people, you are finding new people. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dustin Trevino. Graduation day is here. Our grandmas won't be able to give us those sloppy kisses on the cheek, the ones that me, and I'm sure many of you, used to hate. A lot has been taken from us, and the thief is entirely intangible. There is nowhere to lay blame. Many of us, however, have accepted our circumstances and have come to terms with the fact that our last months of high school were played out in our bedrooms. We've all experienced tragedy, crisis, and failure, and it's what has equipped us so well for our current circumstances and our next steps. The class of 2020 marked a turning point at Englewood. We reinvigorated our athletic department, earning state championship bids in cross-country, football, volleyball, and cheer. We excelled academically by bettering our attendance and increasing test scores. We defied people's expectations and refused to let labels define us. Many of us low-income kids have to fight to even compete academically with the others in the next income bracket, and that's what we did. Failure was a common occurrence, but we embraced it. We learned to find the positive in every situation, to use both success and failure as vehicles for growth. Our goals were huge, and our starting points were further from the finish than we would have liked. But we followed our hearts and dedicated ourselves to consistent effort. Every day was an opportunity to learn and better ourselves. We all made a tremendous impact on our school and community, and we grew into wonderful young adults with unbounded potential. However, none of us did it on our own. No one is self-made, and the most successful people in the world are the ones who capitalize the most on opportunities and accept the most help. The students at Englewood are lucky enough to have some of the most caring, dedicated, and intelligent faculty to learn from. Many of our amazing staff sacrificed a great deal to make opportunities available to us. Whether it's working on the school garden with kids on the weekend, staying at the school until 7 at night helping students with physics, or just having a genuine conversation about mental health and future plans. The class of 2020 found its success in partnership with teachers, counselors, and custodians that put everything they had into our dreams and our growth as people. On this day that we graduate, my challenge to you going forward is to acknowledge your roots, show the world what pirates can accomplish. Make a mark in the world, then continue the tradition of coming back here. Share your stories, create opportunities for future generations, and keep the spirit of Englewood alive. My hope for the class of 2020 is that we follow in those footsteps, because giving back is the only true way to say thank you. Thank you.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made from what I've learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you,
Because I knew you,
I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you've blamed me for.
but then I guess we know there's blame to share.
And none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a ship from orbit
as it
mooring
passes
by a
the
wind
sun,
of the sea,
like a stream
like
that
a
meets
seed
a
dropped by a
boulder
skybird in the
halfway
wood.
through the wood.
Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better.
And because I knew you,
Because I knew you. Because
Good morning. My name is Paige Lincoln Wolfing, and I would like to talk to you about determination. It is one simple word that encompasses so much hard work, late nights, early mornings, and taxing afternoons. A single word that has led the class of 2020 in the past 2.5 months. But what about before then? What about the first step we took into the Englewood High School front doors, knowing that we actually made it to high school? We made it. We survived middle school, only to then be thrown the curveball, that is, high school. That took determination. It was scary. God knows I was terrified. High school is the point in life where so many things change, where you begin to find yourself. You find what you like, what you dislike, and your forever friends. It's where you truly begin to shape yourself. It was a daunting task. 4 years, that is how long it has been since we took that step. 4 incredible, long, amazing, heartbreaking, crazy years that have led us to be the young adults we are today. 4 years that have covered some of our greatest achievements and hardest losses. 4 years that have taught us more than any of us would have imagined on that first day. Did you think we would make it? I did. When I first started at Englewood High School, I knew no one, but there was just something about it, a certain sense, feeling, impression that pushed me through those doors and had me start some of the best years of my life. Did you feel it? Every day, no matter how late I stayed up the night before, I felt it. At first, I couldn't pinpoint it. Was it the feeling of care that was so present within the community that is Englewood High School? Was it the open arms and compassion that this school had for strangers like myself trying to find their way in the new foreign land that is high school? Or was it simply the incredible people, students and staff alike, who pushed us to be the very best every day? I wasn't sure, but I wanted to find out. And it did not take me long to find out. It was the family that is EHS. The family that no matter who you are, your past had your back. The family that pushed you to be your very best and would always be there to help. It was like nothing I had ever experienced before. That is when I knew. That is when I knew for a fact we would make it. And guess what? We did. We made it. We made it while leaving a legacy on this school that will last for generations to come. A legacy that is engulfed in hard work, grit, and determination. A legacy that will live on forever because of us, class of 2020. So this is what I will leave you with, my dear friends. Never give up that determination, grit, and hard work. Use it to fuel your future endeavors and allow you to reach the sky and beyond. Show everyone out there just how truly stunning and determined each and every one of us are. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Imagine Montoya, the class clown. It's crazy to think the day we've all been waiting for is finally here. As today may be bittersweet to many, I'm excited to start this new chapter of my life. Nevertheless, graduation is not the end goal itself. It is just the beginning of the start of something new. Throughout my past 4 years at Englewood High School, I would like to believe I got close to my fellow classmates. We may not always see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, we are a family. A family is a group of people who choose to love and support you unconditionally. Class of 2020, we are a family, built together with pride and endless help from our faculty. A year ago, if somebody asked me about graduation, I would tell them I'd be graduating late. Standing here today, I look back at who and what got me here. It took the inspiration of many to encourage me. With that being said, if there is one thing I have learned growing up in Englewood, it is that you have a choice. Make that choice wisely because life is not measured by one's accomplishments. It is not all about winning. Losing teaches a lot more than winning, and the opportunity to choose who you are does not come every day. So when it does, choose to devote yourself to helping others, choose to be kind, choose to inspire others, so one day we can all reach our potential together. Life is about what makes you happy. If I can ask one thing from my class, it is to fight for what makes you happy. I believe the class of 2020 does just that. We are humble enough to know we are not better than the next, but wise enough to know there is something special in all of us. With COVID-19 taking a lot of our senior year away, I think we did a good job of getting here and keeping a good mindset at that. There was a lack of motivation to finish school, so I would like to thank my classmates for not giving up. I would also like to thank all the families who did not give up on their students. Most importantly, I would like to thank our teachers for choosing to plant a seed freshman year in each and every one of us. You watched us grow over the years, all for this moment where we blossom into the young adults y'all knew we would become. So sincerely, thank you to everyone. And to the class of 2020, I can't wait to see where life takes us. Whether you are further in your education or working full-time, I wish you all nothing but the best. We will all reach our dreams. I know keeping in touch will be hard, but regardless, you will always have a family here in Englewood. No matter how far we go, we are united in blue because once a pirate, always a pirate. Thank you.
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to heat, but always keep that hunger. And may you never take one single breath for granted. And God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. Promise me that you'll give faith a fighting chance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance, and never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they're worth taking. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth taking. Don't let some hell-bent heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. And give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. I hope you dance. And I hope you dance. I hope you dance. I hope you still feel small when you stand beside the ocean. Whenever one door closes, I hope one more opens. I hope you dance. I hope you dance.
The class of 2020, a class that will go down in history in a way that no other class will. We are going to be defined as the class that entered the world during the aftermath of 9/11 and started a new chapter of life during a global pandemic. While this is true, we, the class of 2020, are so much more than the misfortunes we've lived through. Our accomplishments, the memories we've made, the hardships we've endured, all add to our story as individuals, as a class, as a school, and as a community. Hello, I'm Emma Mashka, your 2020 class valedictorian. We are the 106th class to graduate from Englewood High School, making us a part of a rich history and a long line of pirates. Our school has stayed strong through world wars, stock market crashes, pandemics, and much more over this last century, and every class has brought a unique trait to the school. Each class is like a brick in a building. The bricks already placed support the bricks that will be placed after them, and if just one brick is taken away, the building isn't complete. Every brick is different than those that came before it, and the 2020 brick has definitely been through different situations than those from years past. We have proven ourselves as a strong group of young adults, but it isn't just a pandemic that has showcased our strength. On its own, a brick is strong and can weather many storms. It takes a lot to break one because they are made to be sturdy and resist forces that could cause it to crumble. As a class, we have demonstrated this strength and resilience in everything we do. From the moment we walked through the front doors as freshmen, we have been an opinionated group of students, not afraid to speak up and bring about change. We are full of strong leaders, from drum majors to sports captains to club presidents. Our strength and passion has shaped our activities and inspired those around us to rise to the occasion. We have created new traditions and continue to honor those created before us. This determination, resiliency, and fighting spirit demonstrate how our brick is unique and adds a different feature to Englewood's history. While a brick is strong on its own, combining many bricks creates a structure that is able to withstand so much more and can stand tall and proud for many years. From the very first brick in 1913, Englewood's history and legacy has flourished. Little did they know, those 60 or so original pirate graduates would pave the way for thousands of students and over 100 bricks to leave their mark on the school and the community. But these bricks would not stand as strong as they do without support, without mortar. Over the years, Englewood has been graced with passionate teachers who support years, sometimes decades worth of bricks. Teachers like Mrs. Sadler, Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Fornerino, our honorary teacher, Mr. Bednors, Miss Lawn, and Mrs. Bartholomew, as well as Coach Howard and Miss Merrifield, who is starting her retirement, have dedicated most or all of their careers to Englewood High School and have helped hundreds of students achieve success. Englewood has seen the return of teachers, including Mr. Ambron, Mr. Brickley, and Dr. Girardi, who continue to support the students and the community in retirement. Bricks of previous years included students with the goals of becoming teachers, some of whom ventured into the world and found themselves supporting bricks where they were once supported. Mrs. Ancona, Mr. Kavinsky, Mrs. Repair, both Hankels, and former Mayor Randy Penn are just a few of the many graduates who wanted to continue to call Englewood their home. Those named are just a handful of the teachers that have dedicated countless hours to supporting generations of pirates, showing how strong connections to Englewood truly are. But it is not just teachers that demonstrate the strength of connections in Englewood. You don't have to talk to a lot of people to see how close our community is and the bonds of the bricks that span over decades. Many students, specifically some of the 2020 graduates, have links to past bricks, including parents, grandparents, and sometimes even great-grandparents. With her class of less than 100, my great-grandmother, Morvith Williams, received her diploma in 1930, right after the stock market crashed and the United States was thrust into a decade of poverty. Roughly 50 years later, my father's first cousin, Karen Medowski, marched with the band in the Rose Bowl parade and graduated in 1980. Karen and all of her siblings graduated from Englewood. Now, in 2020, I've had the pleasure to attend this school with my brothers and have Dad just a quick walk away if I needed anything. Englewood has been my home for my entire life, and while many members of our class will venture into the world to pursue their dreams, I hope to return to our little town to pursue mine, and Lord willing, give another generation the opportunity to add to the history of our school and our city. 106 years ago, the first brick was placed as Englewood High School wrapped up its first year in the growing city of Englewood, Colorado. 3 buildings and 2 campuses later, the 106th brick has been placed, adding to the ever-growing building that is the history of our school. We will never forget the time we spent within these walls, the memories that were made, and the friendships that were built. Our accomplishments will go down in history with the classes that came before us, and they will pave the way and give support for those who will follow in our footsteps. I am, and forever will be, proud to call myself an Englewood Pirate. Congratulations, class of 2020. We did it. It was truly an honor to make history with each and every one of you. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello. William Butler Yeats once said, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." And every Englewood High School graduate here today can agree that this teacher helped kindle that flame within them. Good morning. I'm Paige Lincoln Rolfing. This teacher has been a student favorite in all of his 19 years at EHS. He is dedicated to the teaching of history as he is dedicated in helping each student grow into their best self, instilling values of hard work, determination, commitment in every class he teaches, while letting a good amount of fun and creativity fuel them as well. He has not only helped students realize the importance of knowing and understanding our history, but how it ultimately affects their lives as well. Armed with his meter stick and love for learning, it is my honor to introduce you to the honorary teacher of this year's class of 2020, Matthew Bednors.
Class of 2020, or 2020. The last time I had my senior seminar class was Thursday, right before the shutdown on March 12th. And I brought mac and cheese in my crock pot, and I can still hear Eliana complaining why I didn't also bring chicken nuggets, and James sneaking over from Mr. Brink's class asking if he could steal a little bite. Little did we know how the year would end, but it's not the ending that I want to focus on, it's everything in between. I remember the homecoming assembly during the fall of 2016 when you were just freshmen. And during the rally, I started jumping up and down, trying to get you guys all pumped up and shouting 2-0, 2-0 when the seniors were going crazy. But trying to motivate a bunch of shy freshmen is sometimes easier said than done. Then Heavenly and Brittany threw some ideas out there for a float, and little did I know that for the next 4 years, I would be the go-to staff member for the class of 2020 float building. With wins the last 3 years, I will always remember the last 2 years at the Haney House, building it up, even in the late hours of the night, by flashlight and truck headlights. Candyland rules! During these times, it shows the level of camaraderie and dedication to each other to get the job done. I am one of the few teachers at the high school that has the rare class schedule to have taught all the students in a certain grade. The last 2 years, Mr. Stedler and Mr. Brink have had to teach a section of world history, but during this class's sophomore year, almost every student in the class of 2020 walked through my door, and I had the privilege to be their teacher. It was during these classes, whether we were writing a 5-paragraph essay, winning HQ with Savion, or asking Big John where Dustin was, and why he was always late coming back from lunch. I had the chance to get to know almost all of the kids at a certain level. 4 years ago, I rounded up my seminar class, and after some arm twisting, took them down to Maddox to read to some preschoolers and get some community service time. The first time we went, Aiden and Milo took me to the preschool office and pointed out a picture hanging on the wall of the two of them as preschoolers. Seeing those little guys impressed upon me how close this group of students has become through the years, and that even in the last 4 years, these youngsters have now grown into young men and women ready for our ever-changing world, who have had to mature even more so within the last 6 months. I am incredibly proud of our senior class and feel privileged that they have chosen me to be their honored teacher and to speak at their graduation ceremony. As a history teacher, I am constantly telling stories and have one more lesson to teach. So listen up. Now I know over the years I've shown you guys some pictures and videos of my family, but there's one person with whom I have not spoken of much who have had a huge influence on my life, and that was my Uncle Michael. My dad's younger brother, Uncle Michael, went to Alaska back in the 1970s, and I went there to work on the pipeline in the early 90s. Uncle Michael came to work here and live in Colorado in his late 20s, and so did I in 2001. But it's love of hiking and exploring that rubbed off on me and pushed me to climb every 14er and be so outdoorsy. Well, he told me a life lesson Story that went something like this. Once upon a time, my uncle was hiking in the Chiricahua Mountains in southern Arizona, close to where he grew up in Bisbee, right next to the Mexican border. He was hiking a point-to-point route that took him across a couple mountain ranges and valleys. He was all alone and in his third day of a 5-day trip. He twisted his ankle and tweaked his knee so bad he could barely walk. Well, since he was about halfway into the planned hike, he had to make a choice, go forward or turn around and go backwards. Ever the optimist, he chose to keep moving forward, which was also where he could find the next source of water. He trudged the 10 miles across the desert valley in search of water, which would usually only take about 3 hours, but now it took him all day. As the sun was setting, my uncle came upon a broken down shack with an old school water pump. He's squeaking that thing, giving it a go. Bone dry, as rusty as a Dust Bowl Model T in the middle of Oklahoma. He hunkered down the best he could in that dilapidated shack and tried to come up with a plan for the next morning. As the sun began to rise, my uncle tried the pump again. Nothing, still dry. He sat down on the pump since his leg was about to give out, thinking how he was going to hike out with no water. It was then that his hand ran across something in the dirt, and he found what appeared to be an old mason jar buried in the ground. He dug it up, and lo and behold, it was totally full of water. It was like a miracle. Somebody had left it there for the next person. As my uncle contemplated the amount of water in the jar and how far he would have to go, he realized it might not be enough for the journey, since it would now take him 3 or 4 times as long to hike out. Then he saw on the top of the mason jar there was something written, "Prime the pump." Prime the pump. Now my uncle had to make a choice. Either take the water and hope to make it out, or put all of his trust in the message and prime that pump, and then he could have all the water he needed. He took a few minutes to decide and then put his faith in the message and poured all the water in the pump, moving it as fast as he can, pouring that water in, and lo and behold, tons of water came flowing out. Quickly, my uncle grabbed up empty bottles and buckets and anything he could to hold water and filled them up for the hike out. Just before he was to leave the oasis in the desert, he looked at that mason jar, and on the bottom it said, "Fill and rebury," which he did for the next hiker. It took my uncle 3 more days to make it across that burning southern Arizona desert, but when he came out, he had a newfound sense of appreciation and belief. And so as you prepare to embark upon the world as new graduates in the spring of 2020, I would just like to impress upon you, will you be that risk taker and prime the pump? Will you be that thankful person who refills the mason jar for the next hiker? And whatever direction you choose to take, hopefully your years at EHS have been filled with hope, optimism, and determination to get you through that tough spots ahead and enable you to forge a path distinctly yours, filled with confidence and perseverance. EHS has gotten you this far. Now it's time for you to set your mark in this world. I love you, class of 2020, and I wish you the best. Congratulations.
Hi, class of 2020. I am Wendy Rubin, and it is my great honor and privilege to be the superintendent of Englewood Schools. I wanted to take a moment to commend all of you for your hard work throughout not just this last little bit of time, but through your K-12 education. You have worked so hard and accomplished so much, and you have so much to be proud of and so many terrific things to look forward to. And I have to say, for a long time, Mr. West has really sung the praises of this group and talked about, you have amazing attendance, you have great spirit, you are very giving and kind and involved. And that has absolutely shown through every time that I've had the opportunity to interact with any of you or to be here at Englewood High School. And I also know that during this crazy time, which nobody could have ever dreamt up in a million years, you have also continued to be leaders by showing up for your remote classes and finishing really, really strong. I know that you're destined for many amazing things, and even though this has been a hard time and a tough time, what it's also doing is it's building a lot of resilience, and it's helping you and people around you who embrace this to be more creative and thoughtful and mindful, and hopefully to be able to think up a better future than you ever thought possible. Class of 2020, congratulations, you deserve it. Job well done, hooray.
Thank you, Dr. Rubin. Before we get to the distribution of diplomas, I'd like to introduce to you our Board of Education. Mr. Stephen Leffler, Ms. Tina Prang, Mr. Gary Manfrey, Ms. Jen Hubbard, and School Board President, Ms. Katie Husbands. Ms. Husbands, will you join me at the podium? It is my honor to present to you and the Board of Education the graduating class of 2020 and certify that each of these graduates have met the requirements of the Board of Education to receive their diplomas.
On behalf of the Board of Education, I happily accept this class of 2020 and wish them the best of luck.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you this year's honor teachers. These teachers were voted on by the class of 2020 to be the faculty representatives that will read each student's name at the conclusion of the graduation parade this weekend. Mr. Chris Kavinsky, Mr. Scott Silva, Mr. Mark Fornerino, Mr. Kyle Bree, and this year's honor teacher, Mr. Matt Bednors.
Hi, my name is Heavenly Escobar.
And I'm Jessica Albert, and we are your co-student body presidents. We are proud to be here with you today as it marks the beginning of our future. As we look back on the last 4 years that have brought us here, we faced many challenges as a class, but that never stopped us. All of your hard work and dedication has gotten you to this point.
Looking into the unknown toward our bright futures, always know that we are made from all the good and bad moments in our lives. The impact we made at Englewood High School is a true testament to how strong the class of 2020 truly is. The future has never been any brighter than where we stand now on the cusp of a new beginning.
Now the moment you've all been waiting for. The gesture of moving the tassel from one side of the cap to the other symbolizes your movement from candidate to graduate.
This marks the end of our time together and the beginning of an entirely new adventure. We now start our individual journeys, but we have this common connection for the rest of our lives. At this time, I would like to ask the class of 2020, wherever you are,
Please move your tassel from the right to the left.
congratulations! You are now officially graduates of Englewood High School.